Shalom Mishpah, and welcome to Jeremy Teach Them His Truth. Today I'm just going to be talking about why I believe Rabbi Simon Altaf HaKohen is the first Messiah, second time around. As it would make no sense for the Father to give me all of these gifts and show me all of these miracles that he's done, and then send me to somebody who wasn't a Kohen in order for me to learn and study from. Okay, so let's start with my first experience with Hashem. So when I was in my early 20s, I woke up one morning and I couldn't move my body. The soul was inside the body, but I couldn't move. And then I was taken down to Sheol. So I was laying on a slab in Sheol. I had these two growling dogs behind me, massive they were. And as I was laying on the slab, I realised where I was. Obviously it wasn't a nice place because the dogs behind me, and so it wasn't a nice place, that's all I'm saying, you could feel it. And then as I was praying, or while I was praying, then all these demons came in. They were about 2.5 feet tall, purple, and they surrounded me on this slab. It was about 3 foot high slab I was laying on. And they were about to go to work on me. So basically they were about to cut me open. And then, just before they were about to do that, I saw this beautiful white light just coming down from nowhere. And as it came closer and closer and closer to me, I saw that there was a face inside the light. And that face kissed me on my forehead. And with that, I was thrown back into my body, and then I was thrown out of bed. And obviously I started crying and praying to the Father and thanked the Father for his mercies, for bringing me out of that place. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is in 2010, while enjoying a really nice evening with a couple of friends of mine, drinking and having some food and stuff like that. And then around 12 o'clock, the Ruach HaKodesh, set apart spirit, came upon me. I was sitting down in a chair, the Ruach HaKodesh came upon me, sat on me for 4.5 hours straight. I was crying with tears of joy, and I was smiling, but I couldn't speak and I could not move. And my friends were dumbfounded as to what was going on with me, because I was just sitting there crying and smiling at the same time. Now, while the Ruach HaKodesh, set apart spirit, was upon me, within some time frame, I don't know how long it was or when, because I didn't remember this for probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks, that within that time I was sitting there, the Father took me up in what was like a spaceship or a ship of some kind of sort, or some sort, and took me and showed me eternity. Okay, so it was just a vast space in the Shamayim, and it was just vast. I mean, I was looking out of this kind of like a bubble glass window, and all I could see was just space, black and purpley kind of colour. And when I was leaving, I remember seeing the end before the beginning. And I asked the Father, I said, Father, why am I seeing the end before the beginning? And he said to me, my son, in this place, time has no relevance. Okay, so that was the same time the Ruach HaKodesh was upon me. The Father took me up and showed me eternity, and didn't want me to remember it until later. Okay, so while the Ruach HaKodesh was upon me, all I could feel was pure, unadulterated love. That's what it was. That's what made me cry. It was such a beautiful feeling, overwhelming. And with that feeling, you get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. And many other things come with it. And also your ego. Well, what ego you had has now been thrown out the window, so to speak. So I don't have an ego as such, probably only for a show. And also, the healing that I got from the Ruach HaKodesh. I was in a lot of pain, in agony with my stomach, because I was drinking quite heavily, because I just split up with my then partner. So I'd been drinking quite a lot. So I was in a lot of pain. I was taking a lot of painkillers. But when the Ruach HaKodesh sat upon me, all of that pain left my body. Okay, so it wasn't long after that I knew I had to be searching to find the Father, okay? Because that was a heavenly experience. So then I got on the internet, and I also was looking at my Bible, and then I heard it on the internet that the real Jews are people of colour, okay? So that's when I got my Bible out and started reading. And it wasn't for a couple of years later. I mean, I found another camp, obviously before Hakuin. So, you know, I got involved with them. I went down to see them. You know, they baptized me. So, you know, I was grateful for, you know, what they did for me at the time. And they were, you know, they were a good camp, you know. They were doing what they could do, obviously, to the best of their ability. But it wasn't long after that. I'd probably been with them for about eight months. And then I found Hakuin. And when I heard Hakuin speak, then everything changed. I just knew this was the teacher that Abba wanted me to be with. It was just, you know, it was a gut feeling, okay? So then I got in contact with Hakuin, and, you know, the rest is history. So while reading the Torah, I realised obviously I needed to pay my tithes. So I asked Hakuin if he could help me get a job. So obviously he petitioned to the Abba. And then I received like a magazine or a newspaper a couple of days later. There was a job in the newspaper being advertised for a care worker to work with a tetraplegic. Somebody was paralysed from the neck down. Never done that kind of work before, but I obviously went for the job. 2 weeks later, I was training on the job. Okay, so Hakuin got me a job. And another thing before that, I received a check through the post. I wasn't expecting any money from anywhere. This check automatically appeared in the post for £5,000. Now, obviously, if I'm gonna, start the job, I'm going to need a car because it was a few miles away from where I lived. So it was obviously easier for me just to drive there rather than to rely on, London transport. So then I received the check. I bought myself a car. Started training 2 weeks later. Now with the car that I bought, here's another miracle for you. With the car that I bought, before I was looking in the paper for cars, and then I went to the, personal number plate section. I just, I've always wanted my own personal number plate. So I was just browsing through and I saw one with Jez, obviously Jez is short for Jeremy. So I was like, oh, that's nice. How much is that? So it was about £5,000. I said, well, that's out of the question. Anyway, so I flicked through it and then obviously I went back to looking at the cars. And then I found the car that I liked. It was a BMW, a green one, convertible. And I thought, yeah, because I looked at some new ones and they obviously were going to take about 4,000, or it's going to cost about £4,000, and then probably enough for insurance. So this one was an older car, but it was a lot cheaper. So I said to myself, let's buy this one, and then we've got some money to do other things with as well. So I bought the car, put some money, a deposit on it. Went up to get the car probably a few days later. Anyway, I didn't look at the car, I didn't look at the number plate or anything for at least probably a few days later. And then my brother came down for the Shabbat. And then we looked at the car and the number plate, and it had my initials at the back, at the end, JB. And I thought, oh, that's nice. I've got my initials on the back. So then later on, as time went on, Norman told me, my brother Rabbi Asher told me to look at the number 4 on Gematria, because he was into numbers and stuff, and all that. So I said, okay, yeah. So he gave me something to look at, sent me over a site, and he was talking about the number 4. And within what they were saying, it mentioned that the number 360 is the number for truth. So I also have 360 on my car. And it also has a H in there for Hebrew, and it has a P there for priest. So I just, I looked at this and I said, well, a priest who has the truth, who is a Hebrew, and his name is Jeremy Beaton. So, I thank the Father for his number plate, personal number plate for me. I thanked him. And that put a big smile on my face. So let's move on to the next thing. So then later on, a couple of years later, maybe about 2.5 to 3 years later, after me studying the Torah, it was then that the others spoke to me and said, Jeremy, teach them this truth. So the Abba's spoken to me and commanded me to teach truth, Torah. Okay, so this is another thing, miracle, that's happened to me during the time that I was under Hakohen's wing, and still am, obviously, studying with the Kohen, sitting at his feet, and obviously taking instruction from the Kohen. Then the Father spoke to me and said, Jeremy, teach them this truth. Okay, let's move on. So I also remember when I was working with the guy who was a tetraplegic. One day my eyes were itching me so badly when I was in the kitchen cooking his food. I basically had to stop and rub my eyes. So literally I was pushing them back in their sockets. And it was then that I obviously must have pushed them back so far that I saw the stars. It was as if I was up in the Shamayim, the heavens. I could see the stars and the planets. It was unbelievable. It was amazing. I wish I could have just stayed there for a good 10-15 minutes, but it was gone in a few seconds. But I broke through to the Shamayim. Okay? And another thing that happened to me when I was rubbing my eyes one night, I basically was rubbing them, not hard, but just, rubbing them, itching, because they were itching. And then I saw these lights coming down from the darkness. And then I saw precious stones, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, diamonds. All of these beautiful stones were just falling out of the sky. And then I saw gold and silver in there. And it was just constantly falling down as I was rubbing my eyes. I could see all of these beautiful lights. And I realised now what it was. It was the heavenly lights. The Father was showing me the heavenly lights. And it's through the eyes. When I rubbed my eyes, I could see the heavenly lights. Beautiful. Okay, yeah. So let's move on. So I realised the marking of the Tav, when I read through Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, that the Tav was either a T or a cross. The Father's marked me with the Tav. But later on, when Hakohen came to visit me, he also stated to me that I have the Shin. Now the Shin, the Tav is the tree. So what is the tree? The tree of life. The Shin is the crown and the sun. Okay? So I have the Shin and I have the Tav. The tree of life, the crown, and the sun. Wow, that to me was pretty amazing. Also, the Father has given me the fourth crown, the crown of a good name. My father was a well-known actor in England. The name Beaton is well known in England. My father had 3 sitcoms, 3 comedy shows in England, 3 different sitcoms at different times. And the name Beaton is a well-known name in England. Okay, so the fourth crown, the crown of a good name, has been given to me. Thank you, Abba. Right, behind me is the menorah. Quick story about that. I was driving to a job with a friend of mine, Joseph, at the time, and I looked over on the pavement. I called to Joseph, stop the car. We ran out. There was a man laying down in his wheelchair. He'd obviously toppled over. So we picked him up and asked him if he wanted me to call in an ambulance. He said, no, I'm fine. So he went along his way. The same morning as we got to the job, I had to use the bathroom. So I went up these stairs that were outside, and then the bathroom obviously was inside. And as I was coming back down again, I looked on the ground, and it looked like something was covering, looked like a menorah. So I got down to the bottom, and I pulled off the towel that was covering the menorah. And it was a massive menorah, the one behind me. And I was looking for a menorah before that. And I went on to Judaica in Israel, where they, do a lot of menorahs. But this menorah it's massive, and it's really heavy. And it's got the 3 legs, okay, at the bottom, as you can see. So you have the 7 branches at the top, which represent Elohim, the Father's wives, okay, the lesser wives. And then you have at the bottom, you have the Hukmah, the Ruach HaKadosh, set apart spirit. And then you have the other leg would represent the sons, so that would be the Malakim, the angels, and the sons on the earth. So as above, so below. Okay, so those of us who are keeping Torah on the earth are the sons as well as the Malakim. But obviously, you've got the Malakim in the Shamayim, in the heavens, and you've got us on the earth. And the other one is the leg of the Abba, okay? So I just thought that was a beautiful, amazing day, and to find that menorah was just, it was a beautiful gift from the Father. I asked everybody at the place, because I said to the manager, I said, look, I've just found this. Does it belong to anybody? He said, no, we've never seen it before. He goes, ask around, see if anybody knows of it. I said, if nobody knows, or it doesn't belong to anybody, can I buy it from you? And he said, well, just ask and see. So I asked everybody who was working, and nobody had a clue where it came from. So I went back to the manager, I said, look, nobody knows where it came from, how much do you want for it? And he goes, no, don't even be silly, mate. He said, it's yours. You found it, so you can have it. So that was an amazing day. Okay. So yes, I remember there was a day when Rabbi Kifa was doing his part of the lecture and was talking about the goblet that Joseph had. Remember the goblet that he put into one of the sacks? So I was thinking, yeah, it would be nice for me to get my own goblet as well. And that day I'd been speaking to my son about Torah. We'd spent a couple of hours just talking and having a drink at the same time. And so when I left him, I went into this charity shop before I got into my car. And as I walked into the shop, I looked straight ahead, and there was that silver goblet up there. So I walked straight over to it, picked it up, had a look at it. It's really, really nice. And I looked at the price, and it said £4.50. So I was thinking, it must be. Obviously they've marked that wrong. So I took it over to the counter, and this is what the lady said to me as soon as I came over there. She said, it's been waiting for you. I just said, wow, thank you. I paid £4.50 for it. So when I got home, I did a bit of research, and those goblets actually sold for £117, and they come in a pair of 2, in a pair. So they're normally £117 each, and I got that for £4.50. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Okay, what else have I got here? So I've nearly come to the end now, so it won't be that long. So also when I asked that Abba Harry wanted me to teach, it was then that I got the message in the clouds. Okay, like Hakoin got a message in the clouds when he went back to Israel to petition for B'nai Israel for their sins, and Abba showed him a menorah in the clouds. So the same way Abba showed me something in the clouds, well, there was a rectangle. So to me that was like, do it on your laptop, do it on YouTube or something like that. Obviously, because Hakoin had a channel at the time. So, you know, it just makes sense just to do videos. But if you look at the picture, there's a lot more going on in the picture. There's 4 faces in that picture. 4. Take a good look at it. There's a lot going on there. So it's not just about the rectangle. What else have I got here? So yeah, so also within a certain time period, I think it was probably maybe 4 or 5 years while studying with Hakoin, the Abba took me to Israel, obviously in spirit, and showed me or gave me visions and placed me in certain places in Israel. Okay, so one, well, obviously these are future events, and one of them is quite, you know, it's quite major, where the Father placed me. And there's other visions that the Abba showed me, which I can't speak about. So if you think about all these things that the Father has shown me and given me, there is no doubt in my mind that Hakoin is the first Messiah, second time around. So I hope you can understand this, understand the severity of this, how important it is for B'nai Israel and those who have joined onto us and those who will be joining onto us in the future, that you must hear and do as Hakoin instructs you in order for you to enter the kingdom. Okay? So I believe we're about 48 years away from being called back by the Abba to the kingdom. But what if the Abba decides that it's not going to be in its time, that he's going to hasten it, he's going to speed it up, or speed it up? What then? What if he speeds it up 10 years? Well, that would be 38 years. What if he speeds it up 20 years? Well, that would be 28 years. So, do you get my drift? We don't know what time or when the Abba's going to call us back. So it's imperative that you align yourself with Hakoin, Rabbi Simon Altaf. It's imperative that you pay your tithes and your zedekah. It's imperative that you bring an offering on the feast days to Hakoin. These are the things that will align you with Hakoin, as well as keeping the Sabbaths and the holy feasts, and doing all the things from the Siddur, which we're required to do to keep the Torah, the way that Abba has asked us to keep it. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. For those of you who are keeping all of the commandments, may Yud-Heh-Wah-Heh increase you, watch over you, and keep you and your family safe. Amen.